Assalamu alaikum friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will tell you about identifiers. But before starting this video, I will request you to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for upcoming videos. Now let's start the video. Identifiers. Identifier is an attribute that identifies an entity instant among other instances in entity class. For example, there may be many instances of student entity class, but each student is identified by his roll number or registration number. Similarly, an employee in employee entity class is identified by his employee ID, etc. These attributes are known as identifiers. Employee entity with identifier attribute employee ID. Employee ID, scales, address, city, street, country. An identifier can be unique or non-unique. A unique identifier may identify only one entity instance. A non-unique identifier may identify a set of instances. For example, employee ID is a unique identifier. It identifies a single employee, but department is a non-unique identifier. It identifies all employees who work in a particular department. An identifier that consists of one attribute is called simple identifier. For example, the identifier for student's entity type is student ID. An identifier that consists of composite attribute is called composite identifier. For example, order ID identifier may consist of order number and date. Composite identifier order ID, simple identifier student ID. Order ID, order to items, order ID, order number or date. Student ID, student name, address. Entities. Different type of entities are represented in ER diagram as follows: weak entities and strong entities. An entity that can exist only if another entity exists is known as weak entity. It means that weak entities depend upon the existence of another entity. Suppose we want to store the data of a student after assigning a class to him. It means that the data cannot be stored if data of a student after assigning a class to him. Class entity does not exist. In order to store the record of the student, we first need to create an entity that represents a class. Here student is a weak entity because it's depend upon class entity. The entity on which the weak entity depends is called owner or identifying owner. A weak entity is represented by double line square. An entity that can exist without depending upon the existence of another entity is known as strong entity. In the previous example, class is strong entity. A strong entity is also called parent, owner, or dominant entity. A weak entity is also called child dependent or subordinate entity. Person ID, name, child, has, child name, birth date. Okay guys, I hope you will enjoy this video. Take care. Bye.